Dear students and friends, good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining the Summer Leadership Forum. I'm Hualing. I'm the interim dean of the faculty. I'm delighted to chair this session today. Our title today is Legal Practice in Challenging Times. While we are managing crisis in our classroom, doing online teaching, online examination, what are happening outside the campus and in the trenches of real legal practice? What are your alumni doing now during these challenging days? What can you do as law graduates in Hong Kong beyond a traditional path to become a solicitor and a barrister? Today, we are going to provide some very interesting answers to the questions. We are honored today to have 3 graduates from this law school to share with you their work and life experiences. We will explain the career choices to you, give you some guidances and advices on what you may expect from the post-law school years, what your options may be, and what are the limits, if any. So let me introduce and welcome 3 speakers. The first speaker is Mr. Paul Chen, LLB 2001, PCLL 2002. Paul is the co-founder and the CEO of Wong in Hong Kong. I just checked the website, it's a fascinating one. The second speaker is Sean Lee, BBA Law 2011, LLB 2013, PCL 2014. He is legal counsel in litigation in the Competition Commission. The third speaker is Ms. Stephanie Wong, LLB 2012, PCL 2013, is associate in the city firm Freshfields. So without further ado, may I ask each speaker to do a brief introduction of yourself, in particular, from the days you graduated from law school to where you are now, briefly. Thank you. May I start with Paul?
Okay, so I graduated from the University of Hong Kong in 2001 and 2 and got my LLB and PCLL. So during my year, there are about 150 law graduates, and I actually count the actual number. So about 10 of us decide not to pursue the legal career, and I'm one of them. So technically an outcast of the common stream of people who join the legal career. And somehow I follow my personal interest to pick my career. So I'm interested in academia, and therefore I changed the field and become a political scientist. I'm very interested in political public affairs, and therefore I joined the government for a few years as a political appointee, and eventually find that both a legal and a political career is somehow too boring. And therefore another interest is travel, and therefore I decided, okay, maybe it's really cool to walk into a company and try to bring out the cultural tourism in Hong Kong. And that's why in 2013 I found my own company and start to run that company, and then still able to survive till today.
Thank you. Sean?
Thank you to the law faculty. Thank you to the dean for having me with all of you here today. I graduated from this university for about 6 years ago, and since then I've been a practicing barrister for 5 years. I served at the Court of Final Appeal as a judicial assistant during that period of time, and Currently, I advise the Hong Kong Competition Commission on their investigations as well as on their litigation matters. For those who have been following my social media posts would also know that I'm the music director of Hong Kong Festival Orchestra, which is an organization that I founded more than 10 years ago. We worked with names such as Yun Di Lee, Joshua Bell, and two-set violin, to name a few. And so these are the sort of facets in my career that I'm more than happy to share with you all, depending on where the questions take us.
Thank you. Stephanie.
Hi, everyone. This is Stephanie Wong. I graduated from this university, I think, around 8 years ago. And I started off as a trainee at Levels, and I'm currently associate at Freshfields with the Dispute Resolution Department. My main practice area are civil litigation and regulatory investigations. So I sniff and dig on a daily basis. I mostly represent banks and financial institutions against commercial litigations, as well as HKMA or SFC or even ICAC investigations. So these are my usual typical day life that you'll see. Outside work, I'm a Pilates lover, and I'm currently a Pilates trainer in training. So hopefully one day I'll become a Pilates instructor.
Right, thank you. Maybe I just start with Stephanie. What's the life looks like as a junior associate in a big city firm? Extremely busy. I mean, for example, say how many hours you have to work. I know before this meeting, you had a meeting. You have to sort of stop the meeting, come to this. So how busy you are as a young solicitor?
Thankfully, I've been relatively busy, even during pandemic time. So you're looking at our hours will generally be 9 to 9. As a junior associate, you get a lot of responsibilities, doing a lot of groundwork. So you'll be doing document review, drafting witness statements, drafting simple client advice, and basically assisting your supervising fee earner or your partner on the matter. Because we don't only do one matter, so on a daily basis, you get a variety of work. It is quite challenging when you first start, because it's very different from law school where you thought everything is a problem-based question. In real life, it's not like that. The client will throw you one question, and then you figure out what are the sub-questions, and then figure out what you need from the client to answer the questions. So one tip of advice that I will often offer to my intern or trainees is stay curious and be flexible. Think outside the box to make sure that you know what the facts are, and ask the facts. And ask questions. If you need to ask questions, always think of an answer first, so then you will always give suggestion and check.
Thank you. That's very useful. So, Paul,
Yes.
you said you are one of the 10 students decided not to do law actually from the very beginning. So I guess my question would be, how useful the legal studies were in terms of the substance of law, the way of thinking about law, in terms of contributing to your career as a CEO, as a founder of a business, which of course is not in the legal area.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm a personal testament that even you don't need to be a lawyer. After doing law degree, I'm still surviving and not starved to death. and I have to say that the first of all, you don't need to be bounded by or dictated by what the subject you choose, and the career is full of possibilities, and you are always in the position to pursue something drastically different. But I would say that the legal training still left its imprint in me, because first we emphasize a lot on logical thinking, about analysis. And therefore, I found it truly useful when I spent about 10 years in the field of academic research, policy research, and also joining in the real scene of politics. So this is one thing. The second thing is about the value judgment that I remember when we study law, we care about justice, we care about fairness. And these are the virtues and values that is really important as the underpinning of an open society. So and therefore, I think we are somehow indoctrinated, deeply indoctrinated during the legal studies. And with that as the anchor point, and when we need to do a lot of decisions, and we need about the overall development of the society, and even when I start to run my own business, I will try to make it I'll make it more socially oriented. We hope to bring out like a higher social missions during entrepreneurship, and I think this is also the impact and the legacy left from the legal studies. And finally, about the friends that you managed to make friends with a lot of brilliant minds, and right now we are still fairly close, and we talk a lot about current affairs, about life, and also like somehow some mutually supporting each other. So I think these are the things that even I do not pursue a legal career eventually, but these are the impact of the Hong Kong Law School on me.
Thank you. Xiang, you are a very talented person, all-rounded, can do all the things very well. So what would be your advice to the young, students now struggling, online learning, online teaching? What the future you would present to them when they ask you the question, right? Give me advice, give me a guidance, what I should be doing so that I could be just like you in the future.
You're way too kind, Dean. In fact, I was just panicking just now, and I went to Wikipedia just to follow up with Paul's statement just now about lawyers or legal graduates who do not pursue a career in law in the end. In fact, a couple of musicians went to law school, but they didn't become lawyers and in fact become composers at the end. And we have names such as people like Tchaikovsky, people like Stravinsky, Schumann, Leopold Mozart. I mean, these people went to law school, but they just decided not to become lawyers in the end. And just to follow up with Paul's point just now, that people can in fact become incredibly successful after having a great education in law to begin with. And just speaking from my own personal experience, I think it's important. It's often cliche that people say, get out of your comfort zones and try, different things. But I think it's more important to know what your comfort zones are in the first place. Speaking for myself, I'm a person who every time try to do something that is just about unachievable. So right now, I run an organization, an orchestra, which usually have about 200 to 300 musicians per program. There's quite a lot of people, which is currently now very difficult to get together because of the pandemic. But I started off with smaller things, with string quartets, with small string orchestras, smaller groups. And after 10 years, we are now where we are at, with larger orchestras, with larger programs, with working with people who are not necessarily within the local music industry. And I think for the younger ones who are still law students or just about to get into society, I think it's important to think about things that are achievable and things that are slightly unachievable. And I think that's what would really get us started thinking about our dreams ahead. Yeah.
Right. So that's interesting. I was thinking whether your quality as a musician would make you a better lawyer, or it's the other way around. So in any event, Anna is lucky to have you. So in the competition commission. So I guess I have a more general question, which has been put to me in the past many months by the young students and sometimes by their parents. So what's the meaning to study law now, right? Given what is happening by the sort of the political crisis, the challenge towards rule of law. And of course, we are in the 23rd year of this 50-year period. 2047 is coming. So there's doubt on the value of studying common law, spending 5 years, and then you may realize a different reality. So what you can say to advice to the students who are having some doubt? Of course, students are keep coming to the law school. We continue to attract the best quality high school graduates. But then in the meantime, there's always this lingering doubt in their mind. Am I doing the right thing, right? Did I make the right choice, or did my parents make the right choice for me? So what would be your sort of advice to them?
Perhaps I can start off with a comment about, well, obviously, as we all know, there are a lot of comments nowadays about how the rule of law in Hong Kong has been seriously corroded. There are comments about how law is now a dead body, and various comments in society. The future does seem grim, but it's often cliche that we often cite people like Abraham Lincoln, people like Nelson Mandela, people like Mahatma Gandhi. These people, they were lawyers. I mean, they all went to law school, and they were all famous and great in their respective areas in a time where probably rule of law is in their respective countries were at their lowest. I mean, in the States, when Lincoln was fighting a war, I mean, he was fighting against one of the most sort of threatening threats to humanity's slavery as an institution. Mandela was fighting against apartheid. Gandhi was anti-colonialism, and they were fighting for their own respective dignity and honor. And somehow, we have to trust ourselves as lawyers. People, graduates from this faculty, students of this faculty, obviously, we capture the sort of cream of the crop in Hong Kong. Some of the brightest students go to our faculty to study law. And I think it's very important to remind ourselves what lawyers are supposed to be. And I draw some inspirations in, well, I'm a qualified barrister myself, so I look at the bar code just now. I did a little bit of research about my own code of ethics. In fact, it's written into our bar code that a practicing barrister must protect and promote fearlessly and by all proper and lawful means the client's best interest. And in the solicitor's guide as well, I mean, it's written in the SG, the solicitor's guide, that the solicitor has a duty to, again, to his client, to fearlessly raise every issue and defend every argument. So I think it's time for us to remind ourselves, especially in times of crisis, what lawyers are. Lawyers are meant to be fearless. We are meant to uphold principles of justice, principles of fairness and the rule of law, even when it's the darkest times. It's very easy for us to go around telling other people that, oh, being a lawyer is so and so, we are fearless, we speak out for the truth, we defend justice. It's easy to say that when the rule of law is at its highest point, but it's where society is at our lowest, where these principles come to the true test. And so I want to remind myself very often, and also other students, that continue to believe in what we are, continue to uphold what we believe in, because that's a calling. And that calling is more important when the times are dark. If society is all fair and square, we don't even have to look into what fearlessness means. Fearlessness only is a principle that is important when there is fear. And that's what I believe in, and that's what I want our younger ones to also believe in as well. Yes.
Wonderful point. Thank you. In the meantime, the students online, please enter your questions if you have any. Put better use of these opportunities. Can I ask Stephanie to share your answer to this question?
Yes, sure. So this question has actually been asked. I've actually discussed it with my trainees and interns and newly qualified lawyers, because it's just the beginning of their career. And many of them would ask, what's going to happen? Do we still have a career? I mean, do we have something that we can look forward to? Am I going to, what's the career path look like? I always tell my juniors is do what you can. If you're gifted, if you're lucky enough to get into law school and you've decided to enter into the legal industry, then do all you can to uphold the rule of law, because that is one of our core mission as lawyers. Regardless of what department that you're in, be it you're in a transaction team or whether you're in a dispute team, you are part of the society who has the privileged knowledge and training that can actually uphold the rule of law and defend our client. So I always tell my trainees now, I know it does not look very bright in the future, but I sometimes say in Chinese, 有危就有機. If there are, if there are danger, there are opportunities. So you do what you can, do the best you can to defend the rule of law, and we can just walk past. Nothing is certain anyway in this world. Even if you ask me, Stephanie, I mean, you do all these sort of regulatory investigations and litigations. Are they all the same? I tell you, on a daily basis, they're all different. And I'm learning every single day. And that is life. So you just have to accept it as part of life, that something is uncertain, but you just have to trust yourself and keep going. And more importantly, if you go into law school now, who says you're going to end up as a lawyer? You could go into law school, get the legal training, and turn out to be something different. And then you don't have the rhetorical question that what we're going to do as lawyers to uphold the rule of law. But if you decide to enter into the legal industry, then join me, and then we just uphold the rule of law as to the best we can.
Yes. Otherwise, join Paul, right? So
yeah, I had the chance to participate actively in real life politics in the last decade, and therefore I can like personally testify that things that not really seems to be okay as we wish to see. And the last year has been particularly challenging, and not because of the social movement and unrest, but also about the COVID-19. And we are simply being bombarded by all sorts of uncertainty. So like in the last few months, I have been really looking into great leaders, like Sean mentioned about like Lincoln, and then I try to look for political leaders who need to go through really difficult time, and what's their wisdom and quotes. And I remember fondly one quote from Winston Churchill, who, if you watch the movie Darkest Hour, you know what happened during the World War. And his quote reads like this: if I remember correctly, the pessimists see difficulty in every opportunity, and the optimists see the opportunity in every difficulty. So I think it's really illuminating and telling about how we should position ourselves, how we can like get ourselves mentally prepared for all kinds of challenging time, and things can go even worse. But we somehow need to seize every chance and try to turn things around. So I remember, and this quote orchestrate like perfectly with one of the slogan during the social movement that I remember really vividly. So the quote is something like this: you don't use it's not because you see hope that you insist, but because only you insist that you will see hope, no matter how bad things are. So like precisely, we love this place, and we know that we need to uphold some principle and some integrity, and therefore and in particular things is going to be really worse, and we really need to get ourselves mentally prepared for the challenge. So I think this gives the extra credence for people who study law, that this is the best time to study law, study legal studies, and also how justice should be upheld. that should be upheld.
All right, thank you. This question for Xiang. So the student is interested in competition law and very much want to have the same careers you are having. So the question is how to become you.
I think, well, first of all, there's a brilliant course at Hong Kong U that does competition law. So I must promote our own faculty's program, because that's how I started. There was a course that I was taught by Professor Thomas Cheng a couple of years back, and it's a brilliant course that really started my interest in the subject. And I then ended up doing the EU competition law course as well. So I did a full year of competition law, and fortunately, I also got a subject prize doing competition law. So afterwards, well, you've heard my introduction just now. I then went and started practicing as a barrister. To work for the commission, as in where I'm at, you do need some sort of post-qualification experience first. I mean, I've never heard of a public sector, a public body taking up new graduates. So you have to have some sort of legal experience post-qualification before planning a career in the public sector. But I think we do offer internships. So every year there are a couple of very bright young minds coming to the commission for internships. We do take in internships. There are master's degrees in universities where in Hong Kong and also in other jurisdictions that teaches competition law as a master's degree. So those programs are also worth exploring. And going back to the theme of today about careers that are outside of the law, in fact, in the Competition Commission, there are also other positions that are not necessarily legal. We have investigations and operations divisions, which handles investigations on cartel conducts and monopolies. There is an economics department which deals with economic analysis. So if you're interested in those matters, that's also an avenue that you can think about doing. And so there are many ways you can get inside the core of competition law. And I think the starting point is the very nice and well-taught degree program at our own faculty. Yes.
A question for Stephanie, right? So there are lots of discussion about lawyering, especially junior lawyers would be replaced by machine. The automation, artificial intelligence would be so useful for that it would make some junior lawyers redundant. So the first question is factual, how true the statement is, and if it were true, then what the current students should do, could do, to avoid the risk to be made redundant in the future.
I think the key selling point for lawyers is the ability to analyze the situation, evaluate it, and advise the client accordingly. I think that's the key selling point. Whilst we do have a lot of technologies nowadays, for example, in my regulatory investigations, when we have thousands and thousands of documents that we need to review them, we do use AI technologies to filter out some documents and help us, for example, to identify potentially relevant documents. This is quite common nowadays, and it's quite cost-effective as well. But then they can't replace us because we have the brain and we know the facts, and then we can analyze, draw the dots together, and evaluate what the real picture is. And we understand the law as well, so we can put in our legal knowledge and see what the client position is like. So the key thing, I think, for juniors now is not to be afraid of technologies. You need to kind of learn it, embrace it, so you know how they can help you to do your job. But always remember, the key thing is your analysis ability. So always question and always remember, I've seen this intel from my doc review now. What does it mean for my client? What does it mean under the law? And that's your selling point. And that's why I think, personally, I don't think they will replace us.
Okay, this is my follow-up question, right? So given that, I mean, it is important, but then it's not that important in terms of the possibility to replace lawyers. But in the law school, in terms of a curriculum design, in terms of legal education, what would be your advice? So what should be taught now before they go into the market in terms of legal technology?
Okay. So I think it's quite useful for graduates to understand e-document review abilities, because it's something that I see often that my interns and my trainees have not experienced or do not even have a clue about. There are many electronic discovery platforms out there, and it's quite important for graduates, if they have a chance, to see what they are in practice, how they should be used, and what kind of algorithm that they have behind the technologies, so they can understand how those tools can assist them in document review. So I would suggest, if you have a chance to open a course, just get a few service providers to come in and tell you what their electronic discovery platforms can offer, what the algorithms are, and how they work. So then everybody has at least a basic knowledge how these things work. So that will really, if they come into my department and they say, oh, actually, I know Relativity, which is a very common electronic discovery platform. I say, okay, good. So I don't have to teach you from scratch. This is something that I think probably is missing currently. It'll be very helpful if the university can actually offer some kind of taster course on that.
Yes, definitely, we should invite you back to give some seminars to
sure, no problem.
educate us. I mean, it's an important area we've been thinking about, but then we need some guidance on that. It's a question for Paul. A student eventually don't want to be a solicitor or barrister, but the struggle is this. He's struggling with whether he should stay in the law firm for a few years, right? Get some experiences and then go into the private sectors entirely. So what would be your advice? Should he just behave like you, have a very, very clear cut at the very beginning, to go back to legal practice, or stay there for a few years and then make a decision?
Okay, the to orchestrate the previous discussion about the AI. So I think like in the past, your parents would tell you if you study a profession and then you do it well, you get good grades, and just stick to that profession, and then you'll be and it will guarantee a promising future, lifelong achievements and all the prosperity, blah blah blah. But I think this job market has been changed significantly, and then we should simply don't need to trust this kind of old lessons or the motto. And secondly, I think it really depends on whether you want to say have a clear cut and do something else, or if you want to stay in the sort of comfort zone for a couple of years and to earn some handsome salary first, and to have some saving before you do the leap of faith and then jumping into another realm of uncertainty. So it really depends on whether you can afford the risk and about your family situation. But I think in general, not only confined to the legal career. I remember one management guru. It's from the Japanese. It's called Kenichi. I think he said that even if you currently who will excel in the current job market. So basically, the people who can somehow demonstrate, he used the metaphor of the astrometric sign of pi. So you need two deep roots that you need to know. You need to specialize at least in two arena, and then you have the ability to do some cross-disciplinary interaction and linkage between these two arena or discipline. So say if you study law and then if you know IT well, then you can combine and turn it into like a tech business of how to say automate legal practice and then kick away lawyers. If you study law and then you are good at music, and then you may somehow like think about what's the interesting collaboration. So innovation and breakthrough usually come from this way. And this kind of talent who can able to bridge two different disciplines would be the people who would be who can achieve more. So back to that question, whether you should do one thing and then you should spend some years in legal practice and join other profession. It's not really that clear cut. Say you can like Sean, he can be a lawyer, but he can also specialize in music as part-time, and part-time is off the office hour, and then they can do both equally well. So this is one thing. You can do a lawyer and then moonlighting as an entrepreneur and start your own business, and this is like basically open opportunities. And with the age of the new technology and all the time-saving things and efficiency and the efficiency and productivity enhancer, and like basically you can try to work around. You can there's like immense possibilities for you. So basically you don't really need to be that clear cut. Okay, I will be a lawyer for 5 years. I save enough money and I'll jump into the field. So you can simply start to plan the transition in any moment during your legal career, and then but my advice is first, better know what you like and better know what your passion is, and you will have a higher chance to perform well in your interest. And secondly, like every experience counts. So even you may not like legal practice the most, but I would say even those years will be, if you look back, would probably be beneficial to you.
Okay. So anything to add from Stephanie and John on this point?
I think absolutely right. I think what Paul said is absolutely right. In fact, some of the things that my orchestra did is really a combination of things that is in music and also in other things. And one of the examples that I want to draw is we did a program a couple of years back, which is a combination of music, classical music, and English literature. We had the opportunity to invite Uncle Siu, who is also a graduate from this faculty. And we did a collaboration between Shakespeare and classical music, because a lot of classical music pieces are in fact based upon stories in Shakespeare. And so we had Uncle Siu, who narrates the stories in Shakespeare. And we also had the opportunity to perform those music inspired by Shakespearean works. So that was a pretty interesting program that we did. Other than that, we also produced a number of music videos, classical music videos that's on YouTube. So again, this is to echo what Paul's just said. We are living in a society where people are defined by the portfolio of skills they have. A person is only able to advance if he is able to think creatively, innovate, and combine his various skills in different areas in order to create new things and add value to society. So whether it's in music, whether it's in IT, whether it's even in English literature. I mean, Uncle Siu himself made a career out of teaching English online and doing various interesting collaborations with other people online with English. And he was a law graduate. So yeah, I agree, and I echo completely with what Paul just said. It's very important to innovate and think creatively.
I completely agreed. I just want to add one small point. I remember one partner told me there are so many lawyers out there. Everybody can work hard. What makes you stand out, especially to a client, is if you understand their business and can actually help them out and give them advice. And the importance to that, to actually understand the client's business, is to have different skill set because you can't just confine into one particular industry, one sector. Our clients come from all walks of life, even within the banks. They can have private banks, we can have investment banks, and even within the private banks, they all have different operations. So you need to always stay curious, make sure that you stay open-minded and have different skill set with you, so that you'll be able to adapt and advise the client quickly, and that will make you stand out.
Okay, on that note, there is exactly a question on that issue. The question is, for a lawyer, apart from legal knowledge, what do you think is the most useful area of knowledge in real practice? Accounting, financing, or anything else that will be useful in making a successful legal career?
I think it's rather hard to pinpoint which area of knowledge is important, because you never know what clients come through the door and what kind of questions they have. Even with the same client, one day they may have bond funds issue, the other day they may have ECM issues with me. So then I would be able, it's just the work that we do are so different and there's so much variety. So that's why I always come back to the point is you stay curious, learn as much as you can with common sense, and always be flexible. Don't confine yourself into a box that you think I have to be that particular lawyer, because you don't serve the same client and even all the time. And even if you serve the same client, they come with different matters and different questions. So you can't really say, I will only know this. You can't, because the world is changing, the client is changing, so you just have to learn and adapt.
Right. So there's a question for Paul, right? Mm-hmm. So you made a decision not to be a lawyer. At that moment, what was really the motivating factor? And the question is, please be honest. And also, I guess the question is, how did you have the conversation with your family and friends, and then in making the decision not to be a lawyer?
Okay. I finished my LLB and also PCLL, and I think I made up my mind to a switch when I actually start my PCLL. So at that time, the decision to complete the PCLL is basically give us one last resort, that even if I want to move to the public affairs arena and it did not make it out, and I can go back to revert back and pursue a legal career, and which I did not do it eventually. So I have the luxury that my family give us quite a lot of autonomy, and basically they don't know the opportunity cost of not to pursue a legal career. That they have no idea about how much the city law firm pay a legal trainee, and then and they somehow never question about these career decision, which give me greater freedom. But I think there's definitely some peer pressure, and people will ask you, okay, so you did a law degree and then you did not pursue a legal career, and why are you what happened? Are you in your mind in doing this? So I've been questioned by all people in my peer circle, and to a certain extent that I'm quite immune from these inquiry and curiosity. But I think you don't really need to be driven by these inquiry, but you really need to convince yourself. Okay, so you know that there's a legal career is a very secure, it's a safe and relatively comfortable path, and you need to, and if you want to do something different, you need to start from scratch. You don't know about it's very uncertain, and then you need to be prepared that there's a higher chance that you won't make it up, you won't achieve anything. So there's been quite some months that I need to actually go through the dialogue within myself, and whether I can convince myself that, okay, even regardless of all these in Cantonese we say the 牌面好差, so it doesn't you don't hold a very good like set of cards, and then you see how you can play the game. So you need to, I think these internal dialogue would be more critical than giving a very convincing answer to your parents or to your friends. But with hindsight, I think this gives us a more colorful and fulfilling life. And back to the question about the what's the other skills that the legal graduate would need. I can very thoroughly feel that this only I decided to do something different, that I know what I can do better, what shortcomings in my personality and skill set that I will need to acquire. So I think as a legal graduate, we tend to be very analytical but boring. So you need to have better storytelling skills. And as a lawyer, we play with words. We write a lot. But then in the current situation, in the current world, that you need a higher sense of aesthetics. You need to have a better grasp of these artistic and aesthetic sense. So I think these are the skills that I would really suggest our current students would really seriously think, okay, maybe you can equip besides debating, besides looking in the besides doing legal research, besides know how to argue convincingly, you may also try to actively acquire the skills.
Thank you. A question for Stephanie. So how did you discover your interest in the regulatory work that you are doing now? And the student apparently is interested in the same area and will be interested in knowing how would she be able to prepare herself for the future.
So I think I got interested in, I didn't actually start off really liking regulatory compliance work, because I did not really do a regulatory law course on that, because at that time we don't have regulatory investigations course in Hong Kong U. So I only got into it when I was a trainee. I went through my training contract, did all my 4 seats, contentious and non-contentious. And I realized that I genuinely have a litigator inside me, so I enjoy contentious work more. And I quite like the sniffing and digging nature that I can keep asking questions and trying to bottom things out. And I realized, this is something that I enjoy doing, and I don't mind doing it for the next 30 years. And that's how I got into, and then I qualified as a litigation associate, and then I developed my practice in regulatory and civil litigation. So it's purely by chance, and that's just how I got into it. If you ask me if you're interested in it, I think the key to be a good junior to learn about regulatory work is to read quite a lot about news, particularly the Securities and Futures Commissions, their rules, their interesting updates. Just stay curious. Just look around what's happening in the financial industry, and what people are thinking in the industry, and how they then do consultation paper and change the regulatory framework. That's pretty much I would suggest if you're a student thinking to enter into this kind of field, then do try and read up. But other than that, as I say, always stay curious and flexible, because the important skill set of being a regulatory contentious lawyer is you need to be able to turn out a lot of evidence, evaluate them, and give advice quickly. And things are changing. So always stay curious, learn as much as you can, and keep an open mind.
Right, thank you. There's a question for Xiang. So from a fresh student, year 1, the question is, if a person wants to be a barrister, is it necessary to focus on dispute resolution, negotiation, rather than the substantive legal courses?
Oh, of course, substantive legal courses are very important. In fact, that's stuff that we do mostly. Legal advice, giving legal advice to our clients, and going to court mostly involves substantive legal knowledge. So definitely you would need a very good grasp of substantive legal knowledge. And as a junior barrister, procedural law is very important. I think that will be taught later in your LLB course and also in PCLL. So procedural law is usually what younger lawyers and younger barristers mainly do. And obviously negotiation skills and, sorry, what was the first negotiation and
dispute resolution, negotiation.
Yes, negotiation techniques are obviously important, and but useful negotiation can only be you can only be a good negotiator if you are grounded in solid legal knowledge, because you need to know what your client's position is and whether they actually have a good case in court before you can actually negotiate. So whilst I would say that negotiation skills and dispute resolution skills are important, they must be based and grounded on solid substantive legal knowledge and procedural law. So yeah, that's my take on it.
I guess a background question would be this: whether a student will need to take identity during the undergrad years to say, okay, I will be a solicitor, right? From year one. So therefore, I think like a solicitor, or the student should be say, I will be a lawyer in the future without thinking, deciding at the as a student, say I will be a barrister, a lawyer. That will be a decision to be taken in the future, or at most in the PCL level.
Well, for me, I did some summer pupillage, and I also did some VAC schemes in firms. Although I did decide quite early on that I wanted to be a barrister. I think it's important that we all keep an open mind if you're a junior about where to go, because even if you're a barrister, even if you're minded to be a barrister, it's also educational and instructive if you have been to a solicitor's firm, because you want to know what the other side is like. So because you want to know their side of the story as well. So when you're a barrister, you better understand your clients. You better know what their needs really are, rather than being sort of holed up in sort of ivory tower. So for myself, I did a variety of things, and obviously after I completed pupillage, I also spent a year at the Court of Final Appeal as a judicial assistant. Again, a solid program that I would recommend. That is an experience where you get to sit actually behind the bench and to sit amongst the judges, because that way you also know the other side of the story of how being an adjudicator in a court of law is like. So when you are a barrister serving the judges, you would better understand what's happening inside their heads. So it need not be a judicial assistant program, because that program they only take in five lawyers per year. But try and apply for marshalships. Try to be a marshal, so you understand and speak to judges to learn the decision-making process. Do apply for traineeships in firms and VAC schemes in firms, so you understand their side of the story. And finally, obviously, don't hesitate and apply for as many pupillages as you can. Meanwhile, also try other things. For example, in new startup companies, in management training programs outside in businesses, so understand what lay clients think. So all these factors, when put together, make you a better advocate. They make you a better lawyer, because you understand different sides of the puzzle, rather than being how would I say too single-minded or having a tunnel vision of things. Yeah, that's my take.
Anything to add from Stephanie?
I agree with Sean, so there's nothing to be much further from me.
All right, thank you. So that's final question, right? I think that actually is the first question. I sort of reserve it to the as a final question. So there are lots of challenging questions about the rule of law in Hong Kong, judicial independence. The rule of law is dead. There are many big statements. So in your practice, right, in your office, do you feel the changes? Right? Do you feel like in the past year, right, the protests followed by sort of the pandemics, and then of course the national security law, and now the ongoing process, which is unfolding every day in front of us. So that is in the news. Of course, they are real. But I guess the real question is, if you go back to the legal practice, so doing like a regulatory work, doing the computation work, do you feel that things has changed or is about to change? Do you have this? I mean, the feeling like you because you are in the front, right? I guess it's for Stephanie and for Sean.
Perhaps I'll start. Well, again, I can't represent my organization on any issues, but I can just speak from personal feelings. I do think actions do speak louder than words. Interested students can look up the cases that the Commission has been prosecuting and investigating against, and you would have a better understanding that I have a strong feeling that the office that I'm working is strongly independent, and I'm proud that whatever I do, I don't feel pressured. I feel that I'm defending the system, and I'm doing good in the way that I feel good about myself in my position. So and also in my other aspects of my career, as in previously when I was still in the private bar, I also felt the same, that I was able to do the right thing in various circumstances. So yeah, that's all. Yeah.
Stephanie?
Yeah. So again, well, I'm just speaking from my personal experience as a general. Basically, I'm a defense lawyer for financial institutions against regulatory investigations or civil litigations. I would say, from my experience, we are still doing quite all right. I mean, I don't have any particular experience where I feel like I'm pressured or I have been, or my clients' rights have not been, fully respected. I mean, there are tensions in the society, but luckily, I think as myself, I feel quite okay in my profession, and I'm still doing as much as I can and to the best of my ability to defend my client. I think that is very important to remember, that there are so many upsetting news outside, but it's very important for not allowing it to get to you and affect you, to affect your work. So always remember that you are lucky enough to study law, and if you have that skill set, always remember, use it to the best of your ability and defend your client and uphold the rule of law.
Thank you. Paul, you have the final word.
Okay, so like the beauty of running small company is you get to know your colleagues, and also we have a lot of student interns, and therefore I managed to talk to them. My feeling is there's suddenly a renewed hunger for knowledge and to know about what's happened, why it happened, why it turns out so bad, and also they are really hunger for breakthroughs and really want to see what can be done to rectify things, and don't let the current situation somehow kicks in and upset them. So as always, as I said, that the difficult time is a testing time, and it's a particularly valuable opportunity to show about one's ability and also one's perseverance and also the ability to turn things around. So I think don't be too pessimistic, and also there's always a way to make things work, as in all entrepreneurs truly believe.
Well, so thank you so much. We get so much out of you within an hour. I'm sure our students benefit tremendously. Myself have learned a lot actually from this conversation. So I hope we could develop this ongoing conversation and communication between the faculty and the graduates. We do need the help from your experiences to guide our young students. You were a student, you must have your doubt, right? Someone must have give you good guidance so you become a successful graduate. So thank you on behalf of the faculty. And I hope we have the opportunity in the future to invite you back in person to share your experiences and wisdom with the students in person. So thank you again. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.